And how about the religious work permit? Just like the artists have
Yes.
P3, right?
Yes.
Work permit they have
R1.
R1, right?
Yes.
So R1, what is the procedure of the R1 if somebody from the Gurdwara or
Yes.
temple or a church or a masjid, right?
Mm.
So if they want to apply for anyone who is not living here, so
Right.
R1 visa, what is the procedure?
Yeah, so an R1 doesn't have to be a priest, although many of them are, and most of the religious institutions that I do work with priests. But I've also worked with musicians that are religious oriented, kitankars, or in certain temples they may have what they call the nadaswara, which is the long sort of flute. So any of those instruments that are specifically used for religious events, but you must show that the individual was working with some affiliated institution in the home country, and that they're coming here temporarily to work for this institution here. We need to document the proof of it. You can do it for up to 5 years, but you cannot show immigrant intent under that 5 years. So I actually just talked to a temple in Chicago, and we're going to be moving forward with it, and I was very clear on this issue. You can still file for permanent residence down the road, but what you need to show immigration is that when you file for the R1, they're not going to try to change to a permanent resident on that R1. You can do the permanent resident process. When that's ready, you'll go back to India or wherever the home country is and process that final step. But for the R1, you can do it here and continue.
For how long the maximum they can get
5
the
years.
R1? 5 years, right? So it's a multiple entry, 5
Yeah,
years?
yeah, yeah, multiple entry.
It's
Multiple.
multi-
Yeah, but we don't ask for the full 5 years in one shot. Generally, we'll ask for 2 years or 3 years, and then another 2 years or 3 years.
And how about H1B visa, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's been a busy time with H1s, yes. So, out of all of the immigration related things, I will say, and I want to be fair about this. I give credit to Donald Trump on one thing. The H1Bs, under his first term, he changed to what's called pre-registration. That saved a lot of money for employers, a lot of headache for people, because lawyers had to put all these applications together, charge the full fees for everybody, and mail it. Then these big FedEx trucks and UPS trucks, they were all filled with H-1B applications that would never even go anywhere. Now, under the President Trump's first term, they started what's called pre-registration. It's much more affordable. You do a simple form, you submit it, and then the computer generates who's to be picked. The one thing that you should keep in mind is H-1Bs. There is a preference for people with U.S. master's degrees before people with undergraduate degrees. And then, listen, this year so far, touch wood, everything has gone smoothly. Now the question is what will happen when we adjudicate, when we file those applications, and how the government will come back. Because under President Trump's first term, many of our H-1Bs were routinely denied. They were, sometimes people would have green card applications, they'd be on their 12th year of H-1B, and then they're getting sent back to India, and then now coming back.
And the people, when they came over for a visitor visa, they have a, I think, entry not more than 6 months, right? Mostly have a 5 months, 6 months. If somebody is today, he has an entry 6 month, right? If he stay over than a 6 month, so what you tell them, so what is the next action about the Trump administration if he goes overstay?
Okay, first and foremost, I want to keep this in mind. If you're coming for 6 months, back to my first statement, you make sure you have some reason why you need to be here for 6 months on visitor visa. Because a lot of people don't think like that. You have to think like that.
Yeah.
Second of all, if you're overstaying, think about extension. If there's some good reason why you need to stay an extra month, extra 2 weeks, 3 weeks, file for that extension. If you overstay and you violate status and you don't file for an extension, then understand this. One, you're going to fall into a category of unlawful presence. If you go for up to 6 months, but under 6 months you leave, then at least there's no bar. But you most likely have to file for a new visa because your visa would have technically been canceled, even if it wasn't properly canceled. Now, if you overstay for more than 6 months, at that point, if you leave the United States, you have a 3-year ban. If you stay for more than 1 year, 10-year ban. It's not criminal. It's not criminal, but it can really mess with your immigration situation.
And what do you want to tell the people who are undocumented? They don't have any documents, and right now they are very scared. They are staying home, and the Trump government is telling them, so you should register your name and tell us all your information. So what you suggest?
Right. So look, I can't tell you all don't do it. Okay, I can't
Yeah,
tell
I
you
know,
that.
I know, I know.
But what I can tell you is this: they're doing this for one of two reasons: either to get you to self-deport, or to process you to deport you themselves, right? So you make a decision on whether or not. Now, what they're saying is, if you don't do it, then you're going to fall into some criminal violation because we've put this mandate out. You think about whether or not you are open to that, or you think that I'm not going to do it, you know? And I have to be honest with you. If you're doing it, then be prepared for the reality of things. Is you're going to leave one way or the other. Either you're leaving on your own, or President Trump and his proxies are going to come to your house, or tell you to come to them, and they're going to send you home.
Is the new administration who has the family that they apply for a family? So what do you? They have any more stay, or what do you want to say? The family-based visa who already have a apply, or who some people were trying to apply. So what do you say? Is it going to take a more time or the same time?
100%, it's going to take more time from both the immigration standpoint as well as processing. Okay, under this current administration, they have said over and over again, I want everybody to be clean, and I want to make sure we get rid of fraud.
Even the family-based immigration.
Yeah, especially family-based immigration. They're going to want to make sure. Now, when you're talking about mother filing for children, father filing for children, brothers and sisters, I will tell you, brothers and sisters has always been on the chopping block. A lot of people, even before President Trump, have said we don't need brothers and sister category. You know, why do we need to apply for people we don't even know what their background is, education, work, anything like that? Just because they're a brother or sister of some U.S. citizen, we're bringing them and their family. So that may go off anyway. If that goes off, they're going to take the visa numbers there and put it into other categories. So we may see people move faster, but until either President Trump or Congress or somebody makes that decision, we have what we have right now, which means, in my opinion, across the board, it's going to take longer and longer.
Yes, sir. So what do you want to say about the P3 right now? We have the same situation. There's any difference after the Trump administration came, the P3 artist visa?
So I would say the one thing that you want to keep in mind with the P3 is that you want to make sure that everyone in your group is spoken for, pakka, and also that we can establish what's called culturally unique. I've had groups. I had a Greek group once where immigration kept on saying, why are these people, and that was under Trump's last administration, how is this culturally unique? How is this culturally unique? One of the performers was a DJ, and they said, I can't understand it. We had to get an expert to show that they're a DJ in Greek music. And actually, immigration had said at one point, just being Greek music is not culturally unique. So similarly, if we're talking about Indian, Punjabi, Hindi, whatever language, you need to think about that, making sure that when you're working with the attorney, you work with them on getting the proper information together to show that this is a culturally unique group. Also, if you have several acts for one event, I just talked about this with the group. They said, okay, we put everybody in the P3 group. My suggestion is if you have different acts on the same event, do different P3s. Because God forbid one person gets cut out or messed up in the petition, the whole group. It's one thing if the visa processing, then one person can be moved, you can move on. But in the petition itself, be very careful of that.
Okay, can you tell me that how many offices you have in the India right now?
Yeah, I have two offices in India. I have one in Bangalore and one in Mumbai, which is about 5 minutes from the consulate. However, I do go to Delhi pretty much on every single trip. I spend 1 to 2 days in Delhi, and every other trip or every 2 trips, I'll go to either Gujarat, Kolkata, or Chennai. Or Hyderabad, depending on where the consulates are. Now, the other thing is the U.S. consulates are opening up, assuming President Trump moves forward with it. One consulate in Karnataka, which is in Bangalore, and they already opened up a satellite for the office in the Marriott, and one office in Ahmedabad. If that office in Ahmedabad comes up, then we'll start to see processing through those posts as
So
well.
why Trump is not thinking about the Punjab? They want Punjab too, right?
And I think that one of the issues is that with Punjab, the distance to Delhi is not very difficult for a lot of Punjabis. And so the reason why they're trying to do this for Gujarat is one, because some would say, look, between Ahmedabad and Mumbai, it's not that bad.
Okay.
But the issue is really travel and community. And so a lot of people suggest that Delhi is sort of an extension of Punjab.
Okay, the ICE, what kind of the ICE have a right so far the deportation? If in case somebody was arrested by ICE, so what do you suggest, what kind of help you can do if the ICE detain someone.
Right. I think you need to be realistic about this, okay? Ultimately, it's not always that there's always going to be a solution that means you stay here. I will often tell clients point blank, look, the reality of things is either we can fight this with no hope, or you can save your money and let me help you to make it as smooth as possible to go home. I don't like talking about that, but I'm very real on this subject. And if ICE picks you up, there's one of two things. Either ICE is picking you up because you have a previous deportation order, which a lot of people, maybe they were scheduled, they never went to the deportation, so they got what's called an in absentia order of deportation. Now ICE is going to catch you and reinstate that. Sometimes we can defend you and file a motion to stay and fight your case. Maybe you're married now, maybe you had no notice of the deportation. But that's something that you have to think about. I do have some clients that retain us to watch their case, get them to sign papers. In case ICE picks you up, we can immediately start acting on it. We can send our information into ICE. We can send our information to the immigration court and tell them we represent this individual. We need to move on it. And so that's one of the things we can do. And if ICE does pick you up, think about that too. If you've had a deportation, now, if you're in the United States and you do not have a previous deportation order, then there's a 99% chance that at least you'll have your opportunity to argue your case in immigration court.
In these cases, some people, if you don't sign any paper, right? I think they have any kind of paper if you don't sign. And sometime they can deport you directly. Sometime they have to go through the court, through the judge. So what is the difference between this?
Generally speaking, someone who can prove that they're in the United States must have an opportunity to argue their case before a judge. That's called due process. If you've had a previous deportation order, let's say you applied for asylum and that asylum was denied, but you carried on with your life. There's a 90% chance you had an asylum case referred to immigration court, you never showed up to immigration court, you got deported, and you never left. So, or someone who took voluntary departure, which was a big thing. A lot of people, they took voluntary departure saying, I'll leave, and they never left. Those people, the moment they didn't leave, their voluntary departure turned into a deportation order. Now, if ICE comes to meet you, immediately they can process you to, they will call it reinstatement of the deportation.
So it means some people, you told me that if somebody has a deportation order, the ICE goes there most of the time. If some people don't have any document, he never applied for anything, he has nothing.
Yeah. So if you're undocumented and no status and you never applied for anything in the United States, in some ways you're in a better position, in some ways you're not. You're in a better position in the sense that maybe there's no reason to immediately kick you out, but at the same time, if they put you in the boat of people that cross the border and you have no proof that you've been here, so if you don't have a deportation order and you here with no status and no proof of it, maybe you can collect the documents that show you've been in the United States for over 10 years. Maybe you can show the documents that show you have a family here and that they have status here. Those are ways that they're going to get before a judge, and those are ways that you're going to show them that you're not part of this southern border crossed and now I'm here only 2 years and I don't have any status. So those are things to keep in mind.
Okay, I think we almost touch all the points. So another point, if you want to say anything about anything else, you can say. So
I would just say, listen, everybody, make sure that you've documented your life in America, okay? For many of you, many of our own people, you've been here for well over 10 years, okay? So for you folks who have an established life here, show your tax returns, show the property you own, show the marriages and the children that you have, because those are the things that are going to show ICE that you're rooted, that show the courts that you're rooted in America. And that's important. If we want to stay here, if this is your new home, then you want to make sure you have that documentation. And that's going to be much easier for you, rather than just sitting there worrying every day, is it going to happen, not going to happen? Those are the things you need to do.
Yeah. So, Mr. Dev, Banaz, Viswanath, you have 2 offices in New York.
Yeah, I have one in Queens and one in Manhattan. And we have a satellite office, Mr. Michael Fulwani, who we talked about.
Yeah.
So I do go to his office in New Jersey usually once a month. Yep, but right now, usually 3 days a week I'm in Queens and 2 days a week I'm in Manhattan.
Yeah, so if you have any immigration matters, so you can talk straightly. So as he told, he do all the, he has so many cases. I knew that that was very problem. He already solved that problems. So you can directly speak to him. So the number is on the TV. So finally, so what do you want to say our viewers?
I just wish everybody a safe time, and just remember that there are immigration attorneys out there that do care and that they're going to do the right thing by you. So whatever you do, whatever you decide, the one thing I can ask you all to do is make sure that you have faith and trust in the person behind the other desk, okay? Your immigration attorney on your immigration case is your best friend. And if you don't have any faith in that person, if you don't believe that person understands the law, then you're going to have a messed up case one way or the other. Rather than that, whoever you go with, just make sure you have faith in them.
Thank you for all the value information for you. Even so, next time we go to see you again. Thank you.
Thank you very much.